Hi, and welcome to The Working Songwriter, the show where today's best songwriters come to talk shop. I'm your host, Joe Pug. Each episode here, we host a distinguished guest, and we ask them to go deep on their inspiration, on their process, on the general ups and downs of making a life in music. So, whether you're a grizzled veteran, complaining that the generator on your tour bus is slightly too loud, or else a scrappy upstart, complaining that Megabus doesn't have any service between Sioux Falls and Iowa City to route your living room tour, this is your show, because ultimately it is what every writer seeks most, an ironclad excuse to put off actually writing. Hey everybody, it's the second Friday of June 2022, and I thank you for joining us. This week's show is brought to you by Bandzoogle. Built by musicians and for musicians, Bandzoogle is an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful website for your music. I'm old enough to remember when you had to pay somebody called a web developer to get a website made, and it would always be some guy named Lander who drove one of those Chrysler 300Cs, which are supposed to look like a Bentley, but which are just actually made out of recycled Pepsi bottles. An old Lander would charge you about $1,000 for a website that would be obsolete in 6 months. But it's the future now, you guys. That's not how it works anymore. We're allowed to have nice things now. One of those nice things is Bandzoogle. Bandzoogle powers the websites of tens of thousands of musicians around the world, from weekend warriors to Grammy winners. All the features you need for a professional website are already built in. Hosting and a custom domain name, dozens of fully customizable design templates, tools to sell your music and merch commission-free. Listeners to the Working Songwriter podcast can go to bandzoogle.com to try it for free for 30 days. Use the promo code TWS, the initials of our show, TWS, to get 15% off the first year of any subscription. If you'd like to hear some of my music live in the coming weeks, the first Sunday night of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm over on my YouTube channel for Sunday Songs. That's a live stream. I'm live. I'm playing tunes live. I'm taking questions in the live chat. I'm taking requests in the live chat. It's a really fun, really interactive experience. I dare to say that we're building something of a community over there, including many people who are listeners to this podcast. So come on over and be a part of it. That's the first Sunday night of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Head on over to joepugmusic.com and click on the live stream tab to set a reminder. Finally, if you enjoy this podcast, if you'd like to help it remain a viable endeavor for me, here's a couple things that you could do to help. First, you could become a supporter of the show over at Patreon. Patreon is a platform that allows you to directly support creative endeavors that you find meaningful. You just head to their site, Patreon. You search for The Working Songwriter, or you search for my name, and then you sign up to kick in a few bucks every month for the show. Think of it as a voluntary subscription, a subscription that you certainly don't have to pay for, but that you choose to pay for because you dig the show and because you won't miss a few bucks at the end of the month. If just 1% of our listenership would kick in the price of a cup of coffee every month, it would make an immense difference. So thank you to everybody who has taken the time and capital to support the show in that way. And if you're not in a place where you can support in that way, I totally get it. You can still help out the show for free by either leaving us a rating in the iTunes store, or secondly, telling a friend about the show. Just spread the word about the show. The simple math on those two things is that they will help me much more than they will be a pain in the ass for you. Okay, I'll end all the harassment there. I hope you enjoy this week's episode with Wade Bowen. Our guest this week is an integral part of the celebrated red dirt music tradition from Texas. Wade Bowen hails from Waco. He got his start playing clubs in college and knew almost instantly that his destiny was on the road and not in a more traditional job, such as Bowen Electric, the small business that his father ran while he was growing up. He's recorded for the Sony imprint BNA Records as well as Columbia Records. He's collaborated with Pat Green, Ray Wiley Hubbard, Cross Canadian Ragweed, and many others. His independently released records regularly hit the Billboard charts. American Songwriter says that he's adept at blending all of Texas's signature sounds. And Rolling Stone says that his music has Texas-sized appeal. I got a chance to catch up with Wade on the phone last week to hear about his journey so far. Wade Bowen, thanks so much for being a part of the Working Songwriter podcast. It sounds like growing up in Waco, you had a very tight-knit family, and that's where the spark of music kind of first took hold for you. In what way was music a part of your family culture growing up as a kid?
Well, I found out later on that my mom really pursued it as a young girl, singing, being a background singer in bands when she was younger, and then was very discouraged by her father saying, "No, you need to go work, and that's not a ladylike thing to do." So I think that kind of caused her to always kind of push me to pursue music. And so we always had music on around. I've got two older sisters and one younger sister, and my two older sisters are as big of fans of music as I am. My middle sister's a great piano player and grew up doing that, but I'm the only one that really pursued it, did anything with it. So, but they were the ones dragging me to concerts, from the 5 years old and on. They were taking me everywhere with them and really just kind of developed my love for music. Even though I was kind of late I didn't really start playing guitar till I was like 17. But I always wrote, and I always loved music, and I always knew I wanted to do this. I just was kind of focusing on sports and other things growing up. But
yeah,
it was just always around, man. They're still to this day, they're my number one fans, my entire family, my mom, dad, and my three sisters. All their kids now, they all come out to as many shows as possible. And it's still a tight-knit family for sure.
That's a good feeling. And, to your maternal grandfather's credit, it is a crazy thing to do for a living. Like, it's totally nuts.
Yeah, especially back then. My mom's 76 years old now. So you think about her teenage years going back then telling, Southern Baptist. My mom grew up Southern Baptist. My dad grew up Catholic. That's probably why I'm so messed up. So, but it was I can't imagine those days, he owned a meat market and, worked in the cotton fields as well. So, it was all about, hey, there's no playtime. You work and you work and you work harder, and then you work even harder than that, and so,
yeah.
He was always on her about what she wore and things like that. He would just make sure, and it shows to this day. I think anybody who knows my mom, not only is she the sweetest woman ever, but she's also the classiest. She's as classy as it gets, and so I guess it all paid off. My pawpaw paid it, all the hard work on her. He paid off.
Yeah, there's things do cut both ways. There's some merit to it as well. It's funny though, like you're talking about that generation and how hard he was working and no time for play, but that's even how they would look at music. Like, I feel like that generation, it'd be like, well, yeah, music is something you can do like once you've done your 10 hours of work for the day.
Yeah, for sure. Work was always first. And she grew up with three brothers. So, they were working too. So that's really all my grandfather knew was hey, we're all in this together. We're all going to work. And I really respect, not only do I respect it, but I learned from that as well. I think it was instilled in me. And my father was the same way. I grew up son of an electrician. My grandfather started Bowen Electric in 1955. And my dad took it over in 74. And, that's just what I did growing up. It was, I was working 12 years old, Christmas vacations. He had me putting plugs and switch covers on, at a job just to learn how to work. And so I really think that's really helped me in my career because it's taught me to, my dad always says, keep your head down and your ass up and you'll be all right. Keep working hard. And so I think both of them were taught to work hard and to chase after something when just by work ethic. And so I think that's really helped me in my career.
Well, and also, not only work ethic there, but your dad being a small business owner. That's the whole name of the game when you're doing independent music. You've done independent and also with labels as well. But a lot of your time has been independent and figuring it out in that way.
Yeah, for sure. watching him run a business, it definitely helped me growing up. I also give him all the credit for me officially moving into wanting to play guitar, because I hated crawling in attics underneath houses doing electrical work. So I tell him all the time, like, thanks for pushing me to do this, because I did not want to do this with my life. But then my brother-in-law took it over. He runs Bowen Electric now in Waco, Texas. And, I go home for Christmas and I'm driving an old truck and he's driving a brand new Ford.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, did I make no, I know I made the right decision, but watching my dad, just the way he handled business and just everything. Yeah, I learned, obviously my dad's my hero and my biggest influence in my life. I still call him all the time for help, even though he has no clue. He can't even clap in rhythm.
Yeah.
But I call him all the time for advice on business stuff, and he always has great advice.
Yeah, we had an electrician come out to the house a few weeks ago, and after I paid that bill, it was like, someone figured out a good gig here. And it's not me.
It's not, I think that you can charge a little bit more probably for electrical work because nobody wants to do it. I mean, that's not something you mess around with. And so,
right.
But yeah, it's a tough job for sure. They're always the first ones to show up and the last ones to leave. I noticed that when I was a kid. I was like, man, what are we doing still here? Everybody's gone. Like, well, we got to work harder than everybody to get stuff done. So.
Yeah. Now, so you mentioned that you were into sports and that music was always something that you kind of wanted to do, but taking that jump from being a kid and being like, oh, I kind of want to do this, to actually doing music for a living, I mean, that's a jump. It's a huge chasm that you're jumping over there. Not a lot of people make that jump. What inspired you to actually make the jump and try to actually do it, put it into practice?
I think the hardest first step for people that want to pursue music as a kid, as kids, I think the hardest first step is just knowing how to do that. I mean, I knew I always wanted to do it, but I always wrote songs, wrote short stories and things like that. So I always loved to write. I just didn't really know, like I focused on sports and stuff, and then I kind of randomly play guitar. But like I said, I didn't really teach myself guitar. And the only reason I taught myself guitar at 17 was just because I knew that I wanted to officially start writing songs. So I literally taught myself chords. That's all I did. I didn't really teach myself guitar. I just taught myself chords so I could start writing songs with it. But I still, even when I was teaching myself and learning, and then I got to where I was writing songs, I didn't know how to start playing music. I didn't know how to start a band. I always thought I was going to have to eventually move to Nashville and figure it out, wait tables and do all that. But I taught myself guitar at 17, and by 19, I started a band. I mean, I just jumped right in. I don't even know why or how. I don't think I had any plans. I got addicted to it. I really did. I just started playing guitar every night, to the point where my mom, even as a junior and senior in high school, would come in and say, hey, not to be rude, but you got to go to bed. You got to put the guitar up. And so I just started doing that. And I think that's where it all just kind of snowballed from there. I mean, I met some buddies, the age old story. I met some buddies. We practiced in my garage in college and started playing in the bars. And it's crazy when I think about how quickly that all happened, starting learning guitar at 17 and then starting a band and playing for people at 19 or 20 was pretty quick, quick turnaround.
Yeah, but that level of enthusiasm there, one, it's something that you can't fake. And two, it's something that nothing else will get you through and forward in such a crazy business like this, other than just like a monomania, a kind of Captain Ahab-like focus on just like, I like to play the damn guitar, man.
Yeah, and I just think it's such a, like Wiley Hubbard has taught me through the years, it's music is something you don't really have a choice. If you're meant to do it, then you're going to do it. And you just, it's not even a matter of having to figure it out. You just do, because it's in your blood and it's in your heart and you want to do it. And I've learned that through the years. Like, I mean, he's completely right. I mean, I can't avoid it. There's days when I want to just completely quit. And then it's just because I'm tired or whatever. And then you kind of gather yourself and get some sleep, and you go, wow, I love this. There's no way I could ever quit. There's no way I could ever stop doing this. And I think that's it's just in our blood. And I think that's why, it's hard to fake. It's not something you can just kind of half-ass your way through it. I think every single person that's successful in the music business, they whatever success is, success is relative to what you feel that is. But I think the majority of people just they have great work ethic because they want to do it, they have to do it, and they stay up all night long or all working all day, whatever it may be, just writing or getting better. I mean, it's just not because we have to, it's because we really, really want to.
You mentioned Ray Wiley Hubbard there, who, first of all, Ray Wiley Hubbard is the Yogi Berra of music with all his quotes. My favorite quote of his is a kid said to him, "I want to be a musician when I grow up." And he said, "You can't do both."
I love it. So I love the one where he says, some kid told me, "Thanks for never selling out." And he says, "Kid, I was never asked." He's got a million of them. He
does. And this is apocryphal. I want to attribute this to him. I'm not sure if it's his or not, but the one of writing a song is like a cat giving birth. You just go under the porch by yourself and fucking do it.
Exactly.
So even if he didn't say that, it sounds like he did. But here's my point in kind of zeroing in on him. You're a part of this long chain, not only of American songwriters, but also Texas songwriters. And now you're at a stage in your career where there's guys after you that are coming up that you've been an influence on. But when did you become aware of this older generation, like the Ray Wiley, Jimmy Dale Gilmore, Billy Joe Shaver, who's from where you are, God rest his soul, Guy Clark? Like, when did you become aware of those guys from your region?
Not till later on. I was probably, when I started playing music. Up until that point, I grew up in Waco, so it was mainstream music. My first concert was Alabama. My sisters were taking me around to see all the 80s country. It was Alabama, Steve Wariner, and then it was Clint Black, and then it was Garth Brooks, and then it was George. Well, it was always George Strait.
Always George Strait.
But that product of the late 80s, early 90s country, that was right when I was, growing up, becoming a teenager and really influential on my life. But then as I got more into songwriting and really learning the guitar, that's when I started discovering Guy Clark and Robert Earl Keen was a huge one. Is a huge one for me. But those it wasn't popular. I mean, it wasn't mainstream. So I didn't, as a kid, I just didn't. I think back then, especially, everyone was so focused on radio and so focused on what was popular, what was mainstream, and my dad, he always loved Willie and Waylon and Guy Clark and Robert Earl. But we didn't really have that bond till I got older. And that's happened to be when I was starting playing music and starting to really dive into writing songs and all that. And so that's when I discovered it, all at the same time. As I'm learning guitar and learning to write, all this stuff, that's when I really dove in to those true songwriters, especially Guy Clark and Robert Earl. I mean, they were huge on the early stages of my songwriting.
It's funny, though, you did face a fork in the road there that you even referenced earlier. You're like, am I going to have to go to damn Nashville and wait tables at a diner to get this done? And that's obviously not the route that you took. You took like this kind of like roughneck Texas poet route that, like you said, it's not mainstream at all. Mm-hmm. In some ways is much less of a sure thing if you could have hit it in Nashville. Like, do you remember a time like making that choice, or was that a choice that kind of unconsciously made itself?
No, I do. I remember the time I saw Robert Earl play, and I was in college in Lubbock, Texas, at Texas Tech, and he came through to play. And, my dad, it was number 2 live dinner, was pretty popular at the time. It had become popular at that time. And so I went to watch this guy that I knew the record. That's really all I knew of it. And it changed my life. It really did. I was blown away at how it was sold out. I was blown away at the response of the crowd. I thought I was one of the few people that knew who this guy was, and all of a sudden I show up and it's just massive,
right?
Chaos, college chaos, which I loved, and I just thought he was I thought he was just incredible. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. This is not a mainstream guy. This place is sold out. And just looking around thinking, I can do this, he's doing it. I can do it too. went and met some buddies and started a band and started doing it for that one reason alone. I think still at that time, though, I thought I was going to eventually graduate college. The only reason I graduated anyway was to please my dad. I really wanted to just go play music, but I stuck with it because I knew that it was important for me to get my degree. So I did. And then, I'm sure that, a dad sometimes, especially a dad that grew up as an electrician, your worst fear is for your son to call home and say, I want to be a musician. It's probably not the best thing they want to hear, helping with college and all that. So, yeah. But I really he became a big supporter of mine. And I really always thought that I would move to Nashville and continue that. But I got so busy. I really, the last 3 years of college, for me, I was literally convincing professors to let me out of class so I could miss Thursday or Friday and take the test early or take it when I get back. And that's what I did every week for 3 years, the last 3 years of college. I don't know how I graduated, but I did.
Wow.
And it just became so much fun and it was becoming somewhat successful. And I moved to Austin and just kind of kept doing it. I think there was always, I was going to eventually have to move, and I never did. And I just really loved playing music, and I loved that I was getting to chase my dream without having to do that, and I'm not sure what the career path would look like if I had moved, who knows? But I know that I don't look back and regret not moving. I think that it all came into what I was supposed to do and how I was supposed to do it. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of I think it really went into the way I was raised, to work hard, to, work your ass off for what you get. And, you look back when I was first starting out too, it wasn't as popular. I watched the bars start to slowly put stages in the corners, so they could have a place for original music. I watched the venues kind of slowly tear down and rebuild and become a place where they put music. I mean, this wasn't as popular when I first started it. So we had to kind of figure that all out together. A lot of us did, Pat and Ragweed and Randy Rogers and all of us, we kind of slowly watched this scene, even though it's always been around since Willie and all them. But as far as original music and having places to play, I slowly watched those turn into more and more and more and more places. And it's really cool to watch that thing grow and to be a part of that growth.
What did the scene look like on the ground in Austin when you arrived? I don't imagine that Austin had quite as many, single origin pour over coffee shops at the time when you moved there as it does now.
I mean, Austin has always seemed nuts to me. I mean, I joke around and tell everybody that I lived there for 2 years out of college, and the only reason I had to move is because I just never slept. It never sleeps. It seems like it's always going and always something. Even at 4 a.m, getting phone calls of people coming over here, play guitar, do this, it's just like, man, I moved further south to get out of that mess because it was just so much. It still is so much. But, I don't feel like it was a whole lot different. I know it is. I know it's a lot different from what it is now. But, for me, I was just the one thing I remember most about moving and living in Austin was I had played, like I said, for so many years in West Texas, and we developed a pretty good following and gotten to a point where we could go most places out there and sell a good amount of tickets. And okay, we're doing pretty well. And then I remember moving to Austin and having the feeling like, oh wait, nobody even knows who the hell we are. Yeah, we got to kind of start all over again. And so that was a little shocking at first, but once again, I didn't take it to heart. I didn't take it personal. I just made me work harder and figure out I need to go get in good with Pat. I need to go get in good with these other guys that have been doing it before me, just a few years before me, and start asking them if I can get on shows and start helping them, see if I can write with them and those things. And so that's what we did.
So it sounds like it was less of like a competitive scene there and more of sort of a kind of a fraternal group that was like helping one another out, writing with one another, giving each other shows. Is that how you characterize it? Yeah,
I mean, the only way I would say competitive would be friendly competition. I think we all still to this day, we friendly compete against each other. And we want to, we have that, I want to do more than you did last night or whatever.
Right.
But I think overall, that's the one thing I've always noticed first and foremost about the people in the scene. There were people that were, Jack Ingram and those guys had done it before me. They'd started a few years before I did, but it seems like almost everybody I've met, they want everybody to work. I mean, it's kind of like everybody does their own thing. I mean, but we all support that. And the beauty of what goes on is, like, for example, Kevin Fowler, he's one of my good friends. And I mean, he's the complete opposite music of what I am. He's one of my favorite people. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard Kevin say one bad thing about anybody ever. And he's just a sweet person. So I enjoy being around him. I enjoy going to have a beer with him. I enjoy hanging with his family. And you think about doing shows together. I mean, he's straight up as country music gets, right? He's a hat act talking about beer, bait, and ammo and stuff. And then there's my music. And I love the fact that we play shows together and the crowds embrace it. The crowds accept it. And so that's a tribute too to what goes on. I think it is crazy if you think about it, the fact that we can all hang out, do these shows and really help each other and be a part of it. And yeah, we're competing against each other. We want to kick each other's ass, make more money, sell more tickets, all those things. But I think at the end of the day, I've had multiple examples in my life with this group where we've all been down and we help each other out and literally almost save each other's lives at times. So it's a pretty cool thing to have.
You touched on something there that's interesting, which is, the audience being able to accept someone who's playing more of like a traditional country type deal and more of singer-songwriter stuff as well. I think that's a huge part of the milieu that you came out of. Like, it's really important that the audience is into that. You know what I mean? Like, the audience is responsible. You wouldn't be able to continue to write songs and do what you're doing if the audience wasn't really into it. And I think it's pretty unique what you find. Well, you don't just find it in Texas anymore, but I feel like it's emanated out of Texas over the last 25 years is a culture of people who are they're into country music, but they're willing to kind of stretch the bounds of that and listen to some more kind of poetic singer-songwriter type stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I give Willie the credit. Going back to you go back to the hippies and the cowboys. I mean, that's where it was, and nobody did it until that. So. You look at a music scene that has thrived for, 50 years. I mean, that's insane if you think about it. That was one of the big things with me with COVID. I was really worried because, it seems like if you look at tons of music scenes over the years that have come and gone, none of them have lasted 50-something years. So, it's really crazy. I was thinking how that crossed my mind during COVID. Like, is this going to impact our music scene? The Texas red dirt music scene, whatever it's called, is it going to impact us to the point that we may not recover? And that was a big thought, just because it just doesn't happen. It's not a regular thing, right? I mean, for something to last 50 plus years. And so, once again, I got to give Willie the credit, him dragging Waylon's ass down to Texas to say, you got to come see this. And that was solely based off the crowd. I mean, yeah, it was amazing music, both of those guys, and all that was going on with Armadillo headquarters was amazing. But like you said, it goes back to the crowd. I mean, the fact that the hippies and the cowboys could all get along and embrace the fact that this is just great music. We all need to just enjoy it, and that's what I've seen my entire career. Is you give them your best, and hopefully it's enough. And it doesn't matter if it's rock or if it's country or Tejano or blues or bluegrass or Western swing. I mean, you look at it all. It's crazy. It really is.
Getting better at your instrument is an essential part of being a songwriter. When you play better guitar, you write better songs. It's that simple. How do you do that, though? Sure, you could get lessons from the neighbor who majored in the effects of the communist revolution on the Mixolydian scale, but that'll cost you an arm and a leg. Or else you could pull up YouTube and pay nothing at all, but that becomes the ultimate time suck. You'll end up sifting through videos of nerds unironically weeping as they discuss where to put your tuner in your signal chain. What's the sweet spot in between? Peghead Nation, the online home for American roots music. They feature curated video workshops with world-class instructors on guitar, mandolin, banjo, fiddle, upright bass, dobro, and ukulele. They have levels of instruction that meet the needs of both scrappy upstarts and grizzled veterans, and most importantly of all, it comes in at a low monthly subscription that actual strapped-for-cash songwriters can easily afford. To start taking classes yourself, head on over to pegheadnation.com to try their 50 available courses. Enter the promo code TWS to get your first month free. You can also send a gift subscription to the songwriter in your life or to the player in your band who needs a not-so-subtle hint about their playing prowess. Peghead Nation, when you play better guitar, you write better songs. It's that simple. Wade has flirted with major labels and mainstream success all of his career, but ultimately he has remained independent, and there's something to that. It's cut from the same cloth as the small business that his father ran in Waco. There's an energy that comes from that entrepreneurial disposition. It's a strong, proud energy that seems uniquely American, and there's a wonderful poem by Wendell Berry that elicits that nature. It's entitled The Contrariness of the Mad Farmer. I am done with apologies. If contrariness is my inheritance and destiny, so be it. If it is my mission to go in at exits and come out at entrances, so be it. I have planted by the stars in defiance of the experts, and tilled somewhat by incantation and by singing, and reaped, as I knew, by luck and heaven's favor, in spite of the best advice. If I have been caught so often laughing at funerals, that was because I knew the dead were already slipping away, preparing a comeback. And can I help it? And if at weddings I have gritted and gnashed my teeth, it was because I knew where the bridegroom had sunk his manhood, and knew it would not be resurrected by a piece of cake. Dance, they told me, and I stood still. And while they stood quiet in line at the gate of the kingdom, I danced. Pray, they said, and I laughed, covering myself in the earth's brightnesses, and then stole off gray into the midst of a revel, and prayed like an orphan. When they said, I know my Redeemer liveth, I told them he's dead. And when they told me God is dead, I answered, he goes fishing every day in the Kentucky River. I see him often. When they asked me would I like to contribute, I said no. And when they had collected more than they needed, I gave them as much as I had. When they asked me to join them, I wouldn't, and then went off by myself and did more than they would have asked. Well then, they said, go and organize the International Brotherhood of Contraries. And I said, did you finish killing everybody who is against peace? So be it. Going against men, I have heard at times a deep harmony thrumming in the mixture. And when they ask me what I say, I don't know. It is not the only or the easiest way to come to the truth. It is one way.
Eventually, your operation, it leveled up to the point where mainstream country out of Nashville couldn't not pay attention anymore. You ended up signing with Sony, taking your operation to a different level. What was the biggest difference once you began working within that major label system, and what were some of the advantages to it? What were some of the drawbacks to it that you found working that way?
Oh God, do we have 2 hours to talk? I mean, I loved it. First of all, I loved that opportunity. I was so excited. I mean, I got the big publishing deal. I got the big record deal. I had everything I ever dreamt of right there in the palm of my hands. You know, it was really almost, I almost didn't believe it, you know, at the time that it was happening, because the deal for me was I always felt like, and I still do as an independent artist, I mean, we can do all the things right, do everything we want, but there's still a ceiling on what we can do. And I think when you're on a major label, there is no ceiling. And I think many artists have proven that, depending on, number one, how you handle it. But secondly, and most importantly, is how lucky are you? What's going to really work here? And the blessing and the curse of music is there is no rhyme or reason for any of it. There's no rhyme or reason why someone is really massively commercially successful and why someone isn't. There is no rhyme or reason. Going back to the way I was raised, I always was taught, if you work harder than the next person, you're going to make more money.
Right.
Or you're going to be more successful. It's just not the case in music. And that's why the fake pretenders are gone, is because it's not something you can outwork somebody. It's about just simple perseverance and just getting through it. And Jimmy V's, right? Survive and advance. That's always, I don't know why Jimmy V always stuck with me, but that miraculous season that he won against all odds, it just, I always go back to it. And that's what I feel like my whole career has been: survive and advance, get to the next show, get to the next record, and do it. And so I think with the major label, I really had a lot of hopes and dreams and things that I really thought were going to happen, or really was wanting them to. And now looking back, I'm like, well, the timing was just off. And I've seen it happen to 99% of the artists that signed labels. I mean, the timing is just not right, or this didn't work out, or you didn't release the song at the right time, or whatever the excuses may be. But I learned so much. I learned that I loved, the fact, knowing that every day I woke up and there was this huge building of people that were working on a Wade Bowen name every single day. That's something you can't replace or try to find on the independent level. I loved, having the unlimited opportunities to maybe play this show or do this deal or be a part of this event. Those things were really fun and really cool to be able to write with some of the people. And that's, I was at Seagull, which is a publishing company where, guys like Lee Thomas Miller and Chris Stapleton were the huge songwriters at the time that kind of built that house. And here's this new kid that comes in who's got a major label deal, so they give me a chance, because you never know when the next star is going to happen. So I got to get in the rooms with people like that. So those were huge opportunities for me, and I really loved them. The downside was, there was a lot of chiefs, a lot of chiefs and very few Indians, and there was a lot of people that thought they knew what was best for your career. And I think every single one of them had great intentions. But it was just, as a young guy trying to figure out music and trying to figure out what's best for my career, it was very confusing on who to trust, who to listen, not trust, but who to listen to, who what's the best. I mean, they're throwing all these different angles and routes for you to take for your journey. And it got real confusing what the best route was. And so I think that's kind of, I don't want to say I got lost. I just think it was really difficult to figure out the right path. And I just think it was really bad timing for me. Joe Galante had left, and Gary Overton, the new president of the label, had come in, and the front door was a revolving door at all times. So I never got to settle in with a crew, or never got to settle in with the right group of people to really get our career going. And so I went in and asked if I could just, hey, look, thank y'all for this opportunity, but I'd really like to go back. I don't want to ruin what I've already brought into this career. I had a career going and felt like it was doing really well at the time, and I was really worried that it was going to get messed up if I sat over there any longer without releasing any more music. And so they were very sweet about it. They let me out of it, and I really honestly at the time thought that I would have another opportunity with a major label. I thought maybe something else would come up, and it never has. And so we just
that's interesting. Going. What did you have to? I think a lot of people would have just continued to ride out that situation. What kind of internal change did you have to have on the inside? Because you have all these hopes and dreams, as you mentioned. It doesn't work out in the way that you wanted it to. But how were you able to make that internal shift to basically not throw good money behind bad? To kind of cut your losses. Like, What kind of internal shift did you have to make to do that?
Well, like I said, once again, I was led astray. Other people saying, "Man, there's going to be other opportunities. Let's go find another label." And the deals were just not good. Nothing ever really came of it. So the internal shift for me was, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I mean, it was a struggle internally for me for a while to think about, man, did I make a mistake, or am I doing the right thing here? It was a struggle. It was a battle. And I made the self-titled Wade Bowen record just simply out of like anger. Like, I'm going to go make the best record, and whoever's listening, I want them to say, man, we made a mistake. I was pissed off. And I feel like I made a really kick-ass record because of that reason, because I was so pissed off. And then after that, it was like, well, I got it out of my system. What do I do now? And, I think for a while there, I really struggled with, where do I fit in now? What do I do? Am I Americana? Am I country music doesn't want me? Americana doesn't necessarily want me. But, I'm in limbo. And so, fast forward a few years, COVID actually gave me a time to reflect and take a deep breath and clock out for a while and get my shit together. And it really helped. So I think I've come out of it on the other side with this renewed sense.
It's funny what you were saying there, kind of like you had all these honchos that you were working with who meant well, certainly, but they're giving you all these different options of take this path, take that path. But as you mentioned at the start of that response, there's no set path. And if there is a set path, that path is already gone and you can't take it. Someone else already took it and it's done. And I feel like so much of the music business is people trying to put post hoc rationalizations on someone else's success and saying, you can do that now, just follow it. And you just never see it work. It always does seem like, to some degree, a crapshoot as to what just blows up like wildfire and what just keeps on chugging along like the little engine that could.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Gary Overton and I still are really good friends. And I know to this day, if you put us both in the same room, I would say nothing but great things about him. And I feel like he would do the same about me. And we would both go, man, I wish it would have worked. It would have been really fun, because we both really believed in each other. And, the other people there, Chris Waters, David Freeman, Marjanice, Bo Martinovich, all those guys, like, I hope they listen and hear that I said their names, because I still do believe that we had a great group of people there and it could have worked out. But I think that's the hardest part that I discovered looking back on my career now that I'm older. I don't know about wiser, but older and older and older. I think every kid has this dream that someone's going to come backstage and they're going to walk off stage sweaty and just rocking a huge crowd, and they're going to go say, boy, with a cigar in his mouth, hey, we want to sign you. All right, let's go do a record deal and make you famous. That's what every kid playing music, the ones that want that level, probably dream of. And they think it's going to happen. And it's just not that. What I've found in my experience that was the most shocking probably is that none of that happens unless you go ask for it or go make it happen. Yeah. It's all up to you. It's all up to me. It's all up to me what I want to do with it. What I want to do with my career, what I want to do with my songs every single day. Mm-hmm. I wrote all day yesterday. I wrote 2.5 songs yesterday. And it literally every single day I finish and I go, okay, what am I going to do with this song? It's up to me. It's not up to somebody else to listen to this song and go, well, let's put it here, or let's go pitch it here, or let's put it on this album. It's literally up to me every single day. And so that was a very shocking thing. I really thought that I would have, you just have these crazy dreams as a kid. It's kind of like, marriage is not like the Disney channel. It's not Disney, like, it's not a Disney movie, right? Marriage is tough. It's up to you to make it work every single day. It's the same thing with your careers. And I think that's a shocking thing for a lot of artists to find out. Well, damn, I actually have to figure this out and make decisions, and tough decisions. But that's the beauty of it all, man. I mean, it's not for the weak-hearted.
Yeah.
It's a tough job.
You're in an interesting position now in your career because you're obviously a guy who has a very strong sense of the history that you're within, and a very strong sense of being, to a certain degree, a custodian of a musical tradition. And yet at the same time, you are smack dab in the middle of your career, and you got to continue to grow artistically. You have to, I mean, you said you were writing 2.5 songs yesterday. So those are kind of two competing mindsets in a way, like being a custodian of something and you know, helping it go along and stay the same in some ways. And then on the other hand, growing as an artist, creating something new that didn't exist the day before. How do you keep in balance those two impulses?
Well, number one, I don't ever stop helping younger artists. If they want to call or email or ask me at a show any advice, I feel like that's my duty to help them figure out the things that no one helped me with. And I think that's how we nurture not just this scene, but music in general, country music. You know, I wave the country music flag proud. And so that's how I feel like we can nurture and can continue to develop these younger artists into great songwriters and great artists, and make them understand the importance of what we do and what we've done in the past, what's been done in the past, and to take pride in the songs and take pride in the lyrics you write and every single thing you sing. You know, take pride. I'm always around. I want to help that. Secondly, I think most importantly is I am more driven now than I've ever been in my career, and I've been doing this a long time. I feel like a light bulb went off at the end of COVID. I got some new team members, you know, a new business plan, new management, new team all the way around. So I feel like this light bulb went off where I was like, okay, I finally know now what to do. And so I just feel like now more than probably ever, I'm busier than I've ever been in my career. And I love saying that. I love that I've not just decided to, you know, hit cruise control. I'm the complete opposite. I think I'm working harder now at my age than I did when I was 25. And I worked my ass off. Man, I was gone 5-6 nights a week playing shows for $100, you know?
Yeah.
So I just think that's the key. Like I see it with a lot of guys. They kind of just want to hit cruise control, or, you know, but the way I keep myself happy is at least right now, I have that mentality. And because of that, I'm happier than I've been with my career. It's harder. It's harder to be gone. It's harder to be on the road than it used to be when I was younger. It's harder to make yourself want to wake up every day and focus in, you know. But like I said, I mean, I feel like that's what's driving me, is that I feel like there's more to do in my career. And I feel like there's something, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's something else that's going to move the needle on my career. And it could be this much and it could be this much. I don't know. I just feel like there's something else that's going to happen, and something more that's going to happen. So, I mean, I released an EP last November. I'm releasing a new record in August. I mean, started to write this new Hold My Beer record with Randy, that we're going to be in the studio before the end of the year, hopefully have that done. I'm just, like I said, I think my way to answer your question, I think my biggest way to handle that is to just know that when I wake up every day, I have as much drive or more drive than ever in my life and in my career. And so that feels good. That feels really good when I lay down at night.
And that's the beautiful part about songwriting. It always reminds me of when I was a kid. My dad played a bunch of golf, and I was like, you know, why do you do that? And he said, well, I can't dunk a basketball, I can't throw a baseball 95 miles per hour, but once every month I'll hit a shot that's as good as any pro could hit it, right? And I feel like there's a strange corollary with songwriting, which, like, no matter how long you've been doing it or how short you've been doing it, it always remains the same. If you're going to go spend 2 hours writing a song that morning, you probably won't get, you know, Let It Be, but you might get Let It Be by the time you finish. You know, like, there is this kind of addicting quality to writing songs where, like, you don't know what's going to happen when you put your hook in that water. Like, you just really don't.
No, you don't. And I really love that. I love that. I mean, if once again, it's that whole thing. Like, you don't know why. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it, and that's, to me, that you can be negative and say, well, that's a terrible thing. Why would I even waste my time, right?
Right.
But to me, it's the complete opposite. It's the beauty of what we do. I mean, yeah, it gets frustrating. Yeah, you watch, like you're running a race and you're running as hard as you can, and you keep watching these dudes just fly by you. It can be frustrating, but at the same time, I love that. I love the fact that every day when I'm writing a song, I love that it can take different directions. I love that when I finish, sometimes I feel like, what a turd. Why did I just waste 3 or 4 hours?
Yeah.
Usually if it's a turd, I wasted like 6 probably. Just like, why did I waste so much time on this? But then, but you do that because you have those days when you finish a song and I've been wrong most of the time, but when you finish and you go, man, I'm going to sing this one forever, or someone's going to sing this forever. And,
yeah.
I guess I never look at it as, I don't have the opportunity to look at it as, well, this is going to be Let It Be, or this is going to be a #1 hit. Like a lot of my Nashville songwriting buddies, they have that opportunity where they go, this is a smash. We need to go find someone to get this cut. I don't have that opportunity. When I finish a song that I really believe in, my initial gut reaction is, man, this is great. I really think I could sing this every night the rest of my life. And that's the feeling I look for.
Yeah.
And that I get excited about.
Yeah, you think, but it's almost, I bet it's even more specific than that. It's like, I can open shows with this for the next 10 years. This will be the start of the encore. You know what I mean? Because you have a specific audience that that you're playing for. Again, it's a culture that you're embedded in. That's a beautiful thing. I think it's...
But at the same time, once again, you don't know what they're going to love either. I mean,
right.
You can one of the biggest songs in my career was the 3rd song I ever wrote. And it's like, man, to be honest with you, like, if we're talking true songwriting, I don't think it's worth a damn. But it's like, it's the most requested song every single night. It was never a single. It was never pushed to Texas radio or national radio or any of that. They caught onto it on their own. And it's been a game changer for my career. So you just never know. And once again, it's a love song. I've tried to write other love songs to take over that one. They say, man, this is so much better, but they don't care. And when I finish writing a song that I feel like, okay, I'm definitely going to cut this one on the record. This is for sure going to make the record. I love this song. A lot of those that I think, man, this is going to be a show opener or show closer. This is going to be a single that never sees a light of day. It's crazy. It really is crazy, but it's fun. That's the fun part of it. I mean, the fans and people that come to your shows, they're going to latch on to things. And there's, once again, same thing. There's no rhyme or reason for it. You just have to ride the waves.
It's interesting because you have the talent and the ability to channel that as a songwriter, but then often songwriters are really terrible at telling what's compelling and what isn't. Like, they can create the stuff, but they almost can't judge it for themselves.
Yeah, I'm not very good at judging for myself. I'm not very good at. I'm also not very good at being like a salesman of my own music.
Sure.
I feel like all of my stuff is right here for a reason. I'm a pretty intense songwriter, pretty intense guy overall as an artist, and everything is really, really close to home for me. I mean, that's why I love writing, and that's why I have a hard time sometimes writing with other people or for other people, because everything is so close to home. I've tried to change some of that over the last few years and try to like open up a little bit more. But yeah, I really love seeing the reaction and the responses from the crowds when you play something new, because I thrive off it, because everything is right here, and I feel like they're out here looking in on it. So it's a really opening. It kind of opens you up to it.
Well, I'm thrilled that you stopped by the show. Thanks for taking the time. Thank you for
My pleasure.
Everything you do with music. Thanks for everything you do with Texas music. I think it's really important for the American national spirit to have that culture down there still healthy and alive after all these years. And so thank you. Really appreciate it, man.
Well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, we love doing it. And I love playing music, and I'm happy to do it.
This week's show is brought to you by Bandzoogle. Built by musicians and for musicians, Bandzoogle is an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful website for your music. Use promo code TWS, the initials of our podcast, TWS, to get 15% off the first year of any subscription. You can find everything Wade Bowen at wadebowen.com. He had several new EP releases last year. If before we meet again you sit down to write, please remember, an expensive drug habit is not a song, a compelling Instagram account is not a song, and most importantly, reverb is not a song. So let all that take care of itself, and for you, just keep your eye on the song.